We're on lesson 1 of chapter 5, which is the coordinate plane. We're going to identify quadrants on a coordinate plane, then we'll plot points on a coordinate plane, and then identify points on a coordinate plane. What is the coordinate plane? Well, a coordinate plane is formed by two number lines, the x-axis and the y-axis. So the x-axis is the red line here. It's a number line that goes horizontally. So this would be positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And then intersecting that is another number line, the y-axis, which runs up and down, or vertically, where positives go up and then negatives go down. So it would be positive 1, positive 2, positive 3. Down would be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. The reason it's called a coordinate plane is because there are coordinates on it. Coordinates are just points on the coordinate plane, and they are listed in terms of x and then y. So this is a coordinate point, x and then y. For example, if I was going to pick a spot right here, that would be 2 on the x number line and positive 1 on the y number line. So that would be 2, 1. And you'll notice I have these 4 big numbers here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. What do those mean? Well, these are the 4 quadrants. When you're in quadrant 1, you're always going to have a positive x and a positive y, because you're in the upper right corner. Quadrant 2, which is upper left corner, is negative x, positive y. Quadrant 3 is they're both negative, negative x, negative y. Then quadrant 4 is positive x, negative y. If you have difficulty remembering this, just remember to make a C. If you'll follow this, just you can go from quadrant to quadrant and then it'll make a C. And then it starts at quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's get to work here. It says identify the quadrant that contains each point. So it asks us to find point P. I see point P is negative 1, positive 4. And that would be over here, would be quadrant 2. So we're going to say quadrant 2 for here. Now we have point Q. Point Q is negative 3 on the x-axis, but it's 0 on the y-axis. So that means it's not really even in a quadrant. It's actually on the axis. So it's a little bit of a trick question. So we're just going to say on the x-axis. And now we have point R. I see point R is positive 2 for x, negative 2 for y. And in quadrant terms, that's quadrant 4. So quadrant 4. Now we need to plot points on the coordinate plane. Remember, the coordinate points are listed in terms of x and then y. So the first number here is going to be the x number line. So 2 on the x number line and 5 on the y number line. So 2, 5. That would be point G. We'll label that. Next one will be point N. Negative 3 for x, negative 4 for y. So negative 3, negative 4. We'll label that point N. And then P is 0 and 0. And so if I go to 0 on the x and 0 on the y, you'll find it's this point right here. And there's actually a special name for this point. It's called the origin, meaning it's where everything originates. It's nothing for x and it's nothing for y. So we'll label that point P as the origin. Now we need to give the coordinates of each point. So we have point J, K, and L. So remember, as we're listing coordinates, it has to be x first and then the y. In terms of x, it is at positive 3 on this number line. In terms of y, it's at negative 2. So if I'm going to list this as a coordinate point, positive 3 for x, negative 2 for y, and there's my coordinate point. Now we have point K. So first on the x number line, it takes me back to negative 2. On the y number line, it is positive 4. So negative 2, positive 4. And then point L, I'm going to negative 3 for x, and then y is just 0 because it's on the x-axis. So we're going to say negative 3 for x, 0 for y, and that's my point for that.